Hey y'all, TT here with Energywork for Immunity, day number 13. So we're in the last few days of the month here. Have a few more practices lined up, and then of course some more things to come after that in February, some more videos provided. So today we're going to do a practice that's really about rooting and connecting to our earth element and the structures which root us in our bodies, connect us to the earth. So we're going to do a really nice gentle movement, kind of floating on the earth, right? This is called the earth spiral, the movement we're going to do. So we're basically going to set up our body in a particular way of standing, let our arms kind of float and rest on this connection to earth. And we're going to do a spiral or a figure eight movement. And I'll talk a little bit about the way in which you want to envision moving, the kind of visualizations you want to have, and what kind of feelings and work this is going to be stirring up in the body. Of course, this is connecting to our earth element, right? In Qigong practice, there's particular organs that are corresponding to the earth element, the stomach and spleen in particular. And the movement we're going to do works with those channels, works with the health of those organs, which is really good. Again, anytime we're working with organ support, we're working with immune support. Just in the same way, as I said previously, when we're working on emotional processing, working on immune support. We're working on releasing and cleansing, immune support. So all these are different ways to support our immune system. And today we're going to do this movement for that earth element, those earth organs. And you might also notice and feel as we do the movement that there's a gentle kind of wringing out and opening at the same time of the space around what's called the belt meridian, Mai Dai. And that is the lining around your waist or your hips, right? So we're going to talk a little bit about that, get into a standing position. Again, this movement, like everything that I do, can be done with different variations and different positions. So if you don't want to stand up, if you prefer to sit down, this can be done sitting down also. The best thing to do for this practice, if you're sitting, is to do what's called a seiza position in Japanese practice. And I'll show you that by just backing up here. Seiza is on your knees with your feet tucked underneath your butt. So a seiza position is a really nice formal sitting position. It may not be comfortable right away, but it's something you can practice with. If it's uncomfortable, often it has to do with two things. It's the flexion in our feet. It's uncomfortable to have them flexed out like that. Or there might be an impingement in your knees or your hips, which causes this position to be uncomfortable. Again, like I said, it's just a matter of practice, sitting like this for a minute, getting up, and so on. Like I said, if you want to do these practices sitting down, this is one of the best positions to sit in, where we keep kind of the same upper body structure that we have when we're standing, right? So you can do this kind of movement in the seated position. So again, that's an option for this practice, to sit in seiza. Otherwise, we'll stand up. So for the earth spiraling practice, we're going to start by getting into a wide stance. One of the reasons we take a wide stance, a stance that could lead to something like horse stance or shikodachi stance, different kinds of positions, is because when we open up wide, we're opening up this channel down the middle of our body, the governing meridian, which runs right through kind of the sacrum, the tailbone, and the pelvic bowl, base of your pelvis, right down into the earth there, like a third leg almost. So when we have a wide stance, we're opening up that space to really feel that downward flow. And if you ever practiced in horse stance, we don't need to get in horse stance for this practice, but when you get into a horse stance, you're really opening up that space. And I always tell people when we practice horse stance that you really should invite the muscles, sort of the base of the pelvis muscles, your perineum, your sphincters, the other muscles that line the bottom of the pelvis, invite them to release contraction when you're in this position. Rather than contracting and holding the pelvis up, you release contraction and sink into gravity. And that's going to support that energy flow. So again, we're not going that deep for this practice, but nonetheless, you can take that wide stance and bend your knees a little bit. So a little bit of a kind of a mini horse stance here. Just a little bit bend in the knees. Check that your lower back is straight, so I'm not sticking my butt out, but kind of a neutral pelvis and the bend in the knees. And then what we start with is just connecting to earth. So if you like to bring your palms to face the earth, you can also just start with your feet, but we can do the hands and the feet at the same time also. So I just like to let my hands face the earth. And obviously my feet, the bottoms of my feet are facing the earth, connected to the floor. And just center your awareness on the palms of your hands, the bottoms of your feet, your fingers, and your toes. So again, if you want to do that one at a time, you can start with the feet, center on the feet, kind of spreading out into the ground, rooting, again, with your knees slightly bent, and your tailbone slightly tucked in, opening the lower back. We just allow that feeling of sinking into the earth. If you have your hands out too, you just feel like your fingers and your palms can kind of rest on the earth, up above here, but resting on that earth energy, that earth element, and connecting through these energy channels, fingertips, palms. If you want to even rub your hands together and stimulate some energy flow, and then you can feel maybe even more of that connection. So we just start here, connecting to earth. And then we're going to gently start moving. And when we move, we're going to move from the hips and this kind of lower dantian area of the body, the hips and the core and the abdomen. And you're just going to start by moving to one side and moving to the other. So just you're passing your hands across this earth. Feet are really rooted. You don't have to force your knees to be still per se, but it should feel like most of the movement is coming from the hips and above. And the structure of your lower body is relatively undisturbed. So we really root through the lower body and we stir up this earth energy with the upper body. So we're just moving back and forth. This first part of the movement is sometimes called stir the mist. But in this particular practice, you can really visualize that your hands are moving across the surface of the earth. Like you might move your hands across some dirt, brushing the dirt or the leaves, like you might feel when you're moving across some sand at the beach. We're already starting here to circulate this energy around this belt meridian, which is of course bringing this healing flow to our organs and to the meridians of the spleen and the stomach, which are both involved in that area of the hips, the side body, the ribs, and through our arms, not to mention going through the legs as well, especially for the spleen. So we need to really be engaged with our whole body. Be very mindful of your body position. If at any point you find your attention drifting, that's okay. Just maybe return to the bottoms of your feet. Feel your grounding. Return to the palms of your hands. Feel that opening connection to earth. And when you're feeling kind of comfortable in this rhythm of just side to side, we start kind of making a figure eight. So we come in to one hip, come out, come in to the other hip, come out, come into one hip, come out. You might see this kind of figure eight shape that I'm making. And when you're doing this, you can just breathe naturally. But if you like, you can also try to match your breath rhythm to the movement, breathing in and out. Breathing in and out, in and out, in and out. So we breathe in as we make more space, breathe out as we compress towards the center. Breathe in, making space, breathing out to the center. Breathing in, making space, breathing out to the center. And again, visualize that earth, that soil, that ground, that sand, whatever works for you, to hold on to an image. just feeling your roots here, noticing how the earth supports you and lifts you up, as well as that feeling of gravity pulling you down and rooting you. There's the support, the uplift. What is supporting your arms in this movement? Can you relax your shoulders and let your core support your arms? And what is supporting your core and your pelvis, your legs, your feet? And what supports your feet? The earth below you. Even if you're on the floor like me, although I encourage you to practice this on the dirt, on the grass somewhere. And if you're feeling good in this practice, you can try really slowing it down. It might change your breath rhythm, but that's okay. Really feel the energy flowing around your hips, through your back, down your legs into the earth, kind of coming back up like there's an orbit of energy giving into the earth and receiving from the earth. So you can do this practice for a few minutes at a time. As with most of these practices, take enough time where you can really go into the rhythm and go into your energy awareness. And that you're not just kind of doing it for a moment or two and then being done with it. When you're ready, you can just kind of settle the movement away. But take a moment just to rest in that earth connection and stillness. And feel the contact through your feet, through your hands. You're bringing that earth energy into your body, healing for your organs, for your whole body structure, and really nicely leaning into that support. It can be a really good way to settle. Again, we're supporting our immune system through both the functioning of our organs and our energy meridians, and also through this feeling of finding support and roots for our own person, our own identity, in some way of building deeper roots allows us to be more centered when we're moving into any degrees of living, any way of being, any experiences we might have.